No. Firstly and foremost, we think the one nation and one election should not happen, and it's anti-federal.
According to me, Modi's one nation, one election is against the constitution, against federalism, against diversity, against everything that an Indian voter stands for. But it was none of these when Jawaharlal Nehru implemented it for 15 years. It was none of these when I'm sure the DMK spokesperson would have read Nanjiku Niti, the autobiography of Karunanidhi ji in his memoirs, when he devoted multiple times pages on advocating for one nation, one election, going so far as to say that the central government must act on this so that we have simultaneous elections.
So as Dharridharan, let's start with you, sir. What's your thought process?
Yes. No. Firstly and foremost, we think the one nation and one election should not happen, and it's anti-federal. I did see your analysis which says Germany has simultaneous election. I think it's the wrong info. It was actually written in the government of India one nation, one election plan also. In fact, in Germany, some states even have different duration. In Germany, the state elections are conducted by the State Election Commission. National elections are conducted by the National Election. And for example, in Berlin, the elections were in 2018. It's supposed to happen in 2023, and Munich 21 are supposed to happen in 26. So they don't have simultaneous elections. And again, US example cannot be valid because they have a presidential system and not a Westminster system.
Correct.
If you look at most countries that follow Westminster system, don't have simultaneous elections. I'll tell you, the research says, like there have been a lot of research both done nationally and internationally, which says if you have national elections and state elections, subnational elections together, the salience of national issues higher, which means that issues such as foreign policy, defense would have more preference, and state issues such as healthcare, education would not have more importance when people vote. So then, as political parties are rational actors, these issues may take a backseat. Day-to-day issues, healthcare, municipality, education. This is the problem, and research was done by a lot of professors. I'll quote one research done by Professor of Nottingham from Italy, when Italy had at some point of time simultaneous elections, and they saw that spending on state level issues reduced when simultaneous elections were held. And again, there's another data which says when India had when simultaneous elections were held in India, or still held, some states have elections with the national elections. In such cases, 75%, right, of the people vote for the same party. But then, when the elections are held separate, even after 6 months, that reduces to 40%. So that itself says if simultaneous elections are held, then they vote for the same party 75% of the time, and not held only 40% of the time. So, which again shows that that people vote for national issues and state issues may take a backseat. And another proposition is that they say the cost of elections is reduced, but the money allocated for elections in 2022 to 2023 was only 400 odd crores, which is like 0.001% of the entire Indian GDP. So it is a minuscule amount. And if you have only elections together, then you have to buy more EVM machines, and that's going to cost more. So I think cost, I don't think is the reason. And again, on another research says if you have frequent elections, then politicians like us will have to meet the people more often, which means we will be willing to do more of their needs, satisfy more of their needs. Otherwise, the elections happen only once in 5 years. And more importantly, we had the system from 1950s onwards until 67. We had one nation election. It failed because certain state governments were dissolved. They lost confidence. And again, we didn't have the system by design. It was because we got independence, all the elections had to be held together. That's why the process continued. And one more question: what happens if a state government is dissolved after 3.5 years? Would we have a state election only for 1.5 years? Because it takes 6 months to conduct the election. So which means we have election only for 1 year, or be presidential rule. And presidential rule for a year is not desirable. Point one. And another important point is that from 96 to 2001, we had at least in 96, 98, and then 99 and 2001. At least then, states were stable. Right, state governments not get dissolved. Here in this case, we have an election in 96 for all the states, 98 for all the states, 99 for all the states, and again for 2000 for all the states. Which means many of the decision making lies with the states. The states will also be paralyzed decision making. But 96 to 2001,
it's a very interesting.
Because Because states are not simultaneously.
Interesting analogy. There are some counters to some of the points you made, but there are a lot of valid concerns that you've raised too. And clearly, that is something that all political parties need to thrash threadbare. Dr. Ranganathan, your thoughts? Do you agree with Dharnidharan when he raises a few concerns which are technical from a regional perspective or from a political party perspective?
Good evening. Good evening to my fellow panelists. Thank you for this very enriching discussion. And I thank the DMK spokesperson for making great points, as did Zafar Bhai from BJP. According to me, Modi's one nation, one election is against the constitution, against federalism, against diversity, against everything that an Indian voter stands for. But it was none of these when Jawaharlal Nehru implemented it for 15 years. It was none of these when, I'm sure the DMK spokesperson would have read Nanjiku Niti, the autobiography of Karunanidhi ji in his memoirs, when he devoted multiple times pages on advocating for one nation, one election, going so far as to say that the central government must act on this so that we have simultaneous elections. So this volte-face is obviously because Modi has decided to go ahead with it, as is the case with building toilets or with distributing cylinders or giving tap water. Everything that Modi does was promised by the opposition, but the moment Modi fructifies it, like the farm laws, all hell breaks loose. Be that as it may, because some very salient points were raised, I think this nation deserves a debate, and I congratulate you for holding this poll, because the questions that you asked were absolutely pertinent. And as Zafarji said, the answers that were obtained are equally pertinent and important, and the country is tilting towards one nation, one election. Be that as it may, I am right now, yes, also tilting, but still undecided. That's why I think a healthy debate is a prerequisite for this. Let me give you 3 or 4 points out here that are very important, that would add to what the DMK spokesperson said and what Zafar Bhai said as well. The obvious advantage obviously is cost saving. You talked about the money that is spent on elections. Well, according to the Election Commission, the last Lok Sabha elections, 5,000 crores were spent. Well, I don't know who counted them, or whether they were machines that were used by the TMC that were used for counting that. It must be at least 10 times that, and just one party or multiple parties. So obviously tens of thousands of crores is spent on elections. And if you have simultaneous elections, you are going to spend a fraction of that. So yes, obviously in money, you're going to save a lot. The second important thing is the administrative cost. From one state to the other, all around this 5-year cycles, 30 states, general elections, multiple times as well, if the need may be. The administration, the officials, the bureaucrats travel from one place to the other for holding the elections, including the Election Commission that supervises it. All that money, all that effort, time is to be saved. Third, as you rightly said, when you have the model code of conduct, you have a complete new set of administrative things being put in place that are away and beyond from what the normal scheme of things that happen for 5 years. So all that time that is wasted, all that administrative things have to happen in a completely different format than what the normal administration works, that is saved. Another important point is the security forces. As you know, for perpetual electoral cycles, you have to shift tens of thousands of security forces, CRPF Jawans or other army from one state to the other. All that time and effort, as well as of the army and the security forces, is to be saved out here. These are obvious advantages. Of course, many of the answers given by the respondents also add to this. The one disadvantage or counterpoint I can think of is that is not logical, but it's emotional. Be that as it may, Anand, we are a very emotional people. So if an event happens of catastrophic proportions, either in a positive light or a negative light, we tend to get swayed. I'll give you the example of the tragic assassination of Mrs. Indira Gandhi in 1984. When the elections were held immediately afterwards, Rajiv Gandhi, who was not even a politician, for 1 year he had joined the party. He got a landslide of 416 seats, the only time in recent memory, Jem, ab ki baar 400 par hua hai. And that was because of the sympathy factor. That was one event that happened, and everything got swayed. And I dare say, had the nation held simultaneous elections, then Congress would have won each and every state. So There are advantages, there are disadvantages, but I would say on the whole, I am tinting towards the sensible, logical thing, which is the time has come for us to hold simultaneous elections.
Right.